Friends, please teach the women in your life the importance of them defending themselves. The Mantis X firearms training system attaches to any gun with a rail and to your phone via Bluetooth to track barrel movement every shot you take. Use it to help you be the most accurate, fastest shot you possibly can in a defensive encounter. I use it in my training all the time. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Our offender here is actually a corporal in the police in Sao Paulo, and that makes this one even worse. Warning on this one, friends, we're going to see a young woman abducted and taken into a car, so watch this one with discretion. Let's pay attention to what happens, then we'll come back and learn some lessons. The news story here says again that this guy is a corporal in the police in Sao Paulo, and he's pulled over here. We don't know where he's come from, and you're going to see him here kind of start looking around and then get into the trunk of his car. And what you're going to see here in just a second is he's clearly going to put a firearm on. He's getting something out of the back of his car there, probably working out of his duty bag, and put something in his waistband. Again, the news story says that he threatened her with his firearm, and that's going to become important here in a little bit. But you see, he puts that on there, and now he's doing the look around thing where he is kind of furtive glancing, and then he can see kind of where she's coming from, which is going to be from our right. You can see him seeing that she's coming and now looking around to see if he's got anybody around. And again, in the original, which is several minutes longer, nobody comes by at all. This is a very secluded area, and this girl, from what the news story said, was going to church of all things. 18 years old, and you can see the size discrepancy, and he's got a hold of her here. And now she's like, no, I don't want to go with you, but he's not having it. He has a hold of her by the arm here, and there's no way she's going to be able to resist him physically at this point. And he is going to put her in the car, and again, the news story says he held her for 30 minutes, did everything that he wanted to do with her, and they have a warrant out for his arrest, but he hasn't been arrested yet so far as I know, and that's where the video ends. Friends, this one really is terrible. I don't have anything good to say about it. Let's make sure that we try to learn some lessons to get some redemption out of this poor woman's victimization. I do want to think about some significant lessons out of this one. Number one, about pre-attack indicators. Number two, about awareness and maintaining your distance. And number three, having the emotional fitness and the willingness to defend ourselves and not be taken to a second location. So some significant and sad lessons out of this one, friends. I just encourage you to think about how old a kid should be able to see this. I mean, clearly not little children, but think about showing it to your teenagers at least, and the women in your life, so they see what the realities are. Now, interestingly here, he has chosen this place most likely because he knows that the likelihood of being caught is slim. Now, it's interesting here as we stop it for just a second, you can see that he is putting the gun in his waist, and that looks like a right hand being used to do that. I'm going to guess, 85–90% chance that he's right-handed, and so that's going to become important in just a little bit. Now look at him looking around. Look at the furtive glances here, and I want you to pay attention to that. Not that it would have necessarily made a huge difference because there's not a lot of people here, but in general, when you see people, they're making these furtive glances left and right. They're either looking for escape routes or they're looking to see if there are witnesses about. So when you see somebody doing that, pay attention. Now notice as well, he has seen her coming down the street. He knows she's on the way, and you can see him kind of peeking through the bars there to see if she's coming and what his timing is going to be. And this is why awareness is so important. Now, she might have seen him go by and seen him pull in there, but at the very least, being able to look around and keeping your head up and seeing what's going on in your world might have given her some awareness to not go down this street, to maybe go a different block and stay away from him entirely. Now you see him as he's looking around and going, okay, he has planned his attack. Now I want to pay attention that she can see him at this point. Clearly he's come around the corner of the building at this point, so he's not hiding himself to just jump on top of her. He is going to accost her, and that gave her some opportunity. She's not on screen yet. She has some space here if she would have chosen to use it. Now, why is she chosen in the first place? I'm not 100% positive, but look at her body language here. She has noticed that her chin is down, and you can see the fact that she is not looking at what's going on around her. When I teach women's self-defense classes, the first thing that I teach is to fail the first interview by knowing who you are, by knowing that you're valuable, you cannot be attacked, and by being aware of your world. And what you do that is with your nose up, your chin up, looking around at the world around you, not looking at your feet, looking at your world. And that will many times cause you to be not selected as a victim by its very nature, because you probably will fight back. You probably will give them a hard time, and they will choose an easier victim. Now, this girl, the news story says, is only 18 years old, but learning how to use your posture and your awareness is incredibly important to teach our daughters, to teach our wives, to teach all the women in our lives. Now, as he gets up to her, you know, she finally sees him. He's that close when she finally pays attention to him, but at this point, he has not touched her yet. One of the most important things, ladies, that you can know is that you have to maintain enough distance that he can't get a hold of you. Once he gets a hold of you, the problem becomes very significantly complicated. So staying out of his distance where you can use speed and get the heck away from him and run to safety is incredibly important. So you see there, he's got a hold of her at that point with his right hand. And look at the size disparity between them, you guys. I mean, this guy's a big dude. She's obviously a little bitty girl. And so most women's self-defense classes that teach, oh, touch him here, hit him in this spot, do this thing, honestly, our Hulkwomen are not going to work. If she's going to physically defend herself at this point, she's going to have to go absolutely viciously and attack him in hard ways. Now, we see women do that all the time. I'm not saying that's impossible, but she's going to have attitude, skills, and plan. Notice as well that he's got a hold of her with his right hand. He can't draw that gun that he's about to threaten her with at all if he wanted to. So if she goes after him, the gun is not in play, and all she has to do is get him to let her go. She doesn't have to actually defeat him. Now you see him there, he threatens her with his gun, but she doesn't have to be able to beat him up. She has to be able to make him let her go. Now finally here, you notice she finally kind of sets down and goes, no, I'm not going in there. And ladies, one of the ways that we talk about not being taken to a second location is being willing to absolutely get on the ground and fight like a dog with your feet in that moment and make it incredibly painful for him, because being taken in the car is a terrible, terrible outcome, and therefore don't get taken to a second location. Even if that's you're going to flop on the ground like a toddler, do that at the very least so that he cannot hold on to you and get you off your behind and into the car. Because obviously, anytime you get taken to the second location, terrible, horrible things are happening there, and are happening here, and they happen to this young woman. And that's terrible. Again, the woman is on her way to church, and this is what happens to her. So please, ladies, hear me. You are of inestimable value, worth, and dignity as a bearer of the image of God. You have the right to defend yourself, and no one has the right to harm you. So learn the lessons that you get out of this one so that you cannot be victimized, that you know how to fail the victim selection process. You use your awareness, your eyes are up so that you don't get surprised, that you know how to fight, and that's going to take you a good bit of time of training, not a one-off women's self-defense class, but actual training that's week after week so that you have the attitude, skills, and plan to not be a victim like this poor girl, but instead you can cover your asp.